welcome back to another video program explaining the information I want to share with you on several topics. Today I'm going to talk to you about a program that I'm very excited about. It is a special way of grouping all students at a grade level so that there is maximum achievement for all kids in that arrangement. We have created a model called the Schoolwide Cluster Grouping Model, abbreviated as SCGM, and it provides full-time in-school learning environments for gifted students, which is a radical departure from the pull-out models that have been prevalent for most of the past 50 years. What was wrong with that model was it was part-time, and that the students who left the classroom for that pull-out often were expected to make up the work they had missed when they returned to the classroom, and the school districts decided that it was adequate service, providing adequate service for these students once a week or more often, but very short periods of time where they had to leave the classroom and upset the flow of what was going on in there. We knew there had to be a better way. And so my co-author of this book, the Cluster Grouping Handbook, who is Dr. DINA did her dissertation on this topic, and combining what she knew academically and what I had learned over quite a few decades of studying this, we were able to construct a model that we are very confident will improve achievement for all kids. So it's called the Schoolwide Cluster Grouping Model because all children at each grade level are clustered in such a way that when they move forward to the next grade level, they can experience optimum achievement. And the parents are thrilled with this because they have been tired of having their gifted kids be second-class citizens with reduced services when compared to what special ed kids get. And they are thrilled to be able to keep all their children in the home school so that they only have one school's vacation schedule to work with, and they're happy because their kids are purposefully grouped with other advanced learners. We're going to show you a slide of this model, and as you can see from looking at the slide, we have a hypothetical situation here in which, let's say, a fourth grade is moving into a fifth grade in an elementary school. And the teachers have come to a placement meeting with all of their present students arranged by color code onto different colored index cards. All the promotion meetings are conducted this way. Let's say the gifted kids in this school, their names are written on yellow cards. So the first thing we're going to do at this meeting is we're going to put all the yellow cards in one group. And we're going to look and see how many of those kids are identified or hunched to be gifted in that grade level. We don't want to place more than 20% of the entire class population into a gifted cluster in one class. So if there are quite a few more identified kids, then you might create two clusters in the same grade level, one for kids who are advanced in reading and language arts, and the other for kids who are advanced in math and science. It is a way then to group all kids at a grade level so that gifted kids get full-time services and the rest of the kids, all of the kids, get potential for improved achievement. Now, I don't know if this is true in your state or not, but in the last 25 years, many states have noticed that the achievement scores for gifted kids have been slipping. Through No Child Left Behind and other interventions, those kids have lost ground. And people are confused about that. Why should they be losing ground? Well, you understand and remember that in No Child Left Behind, it was the needs of the kids who were needy at the left end of a bell curve that took precedence over the needs of any other kids. And so those kids were the recipients of greatly improved attention and hopefully more successful strategies. The gifted kids in most places, maybe not your place, but in many places, were kind of left to make it on their own because the school's goal was all the kids should contribute to high test scores for our school, and for the kids who are already making high test scores, we don't have to really worry about it. They will quote unquote make it on their own. This is not acceptable because our country then gives up its opportunity to provide world leadership and to really actualize the learning potential of all our high ability kids. We should not have to make that choice. Looking at the chart, you can see there are 6 gifted kids out of 90 kids. So those 6 kids, for the first time in history, instead of being split up and shared among all 3 sections, are going to be clustered together in the classroom of a teacher who has had gifted education training and knows how to motivate and serve those kids. That is the first significant difference in this model. Historically, when 6 kids come into a grade level as identified gifted and there are 3 sections, you know what we've done. We split them up 2, 2, and 2. Why? Because it's fair. To whom is it fair? It's fair to the teachers, so all of them have some gifted kids. Well, how about looking at what's fair to the students? When gifted kids don't have any other gifted kids in the same classroom with them, they tend to choose not to be noticed for their exceptional ability. And they don't like to be the lonely kid who's off in a desk or table at the back of the room working on their alternate learning activities, but missing out on a whole lot of the large group activities. So we don't want to do that anymore. We're going to cluster them together and keep them together. Now, the second major difference in this is group 2. Historically, many school districts, perhaps including your own, has kept those kids in the same classroom as the identified gifted kids. Now, in some areas of the country, this creates an unpardonable dilemma. Because if you've taken the top and the second top group of kids and put them in the same classroom, in some places that leaves very little academic leadership available in some of the other classes. Those classes are very difficult for teachers to teach, and they are the source of a lot of resentment between teachers at that grade level because you got all the good kids and I don't have any, which of course is a myth, but that's how it's perceived. So we're going to do something dramatic here. We are going to separate the kids who are gifted from the kids who are high average, and we're going to take that group of high average kids and create 2 groups of them to place in the classes that do not have a gifted cluster. So now there are 3 classes out of 3 that have a cluster of advanced learners who are believed to provide positive role models. Classroom A, who has the identified gifted, and classrooms B and C, who has the identified high ability kids who are not gifted, who are working up to their potential and who are good role models, but they don't have the advanced thinking capacity that gifted or advanced learners do. The third thing we're going to do is look at group 5, which are the kids who are way below proficient in their testing. We are not going to place any of those kids in the same class that has a gifted cluster. Why? Because when a classroom teacher is pulled equally hard in both directions, trying to pay attention to the needs of the cluster gifted kids and try to make sure that their kids who are really struggling and very low in their achievement scores are both being accommodated, by the time that early winter starts, they have no choice but to tip the scale so that they're paying much more attention to the struggling students. And that's not okay either, for various and obvious reasons. So we're going to place the kids who need special ed help in the classrooms that do not have the gifted cluster. Now, all classes still have a noticeable range of abilities in their population. So this is not a return to tracking, because in tracking, all kids in a class were similar to each other in abilities. So there was the high group, the average group, and the low group, and they were separated, and over the years, it became noticeable that the struggling students made less progress than the kids in the average or high classes. There are a lot of reasons for that, one of which is that the struggling students are most often assigned the newest teacher. And that is a mistake because it takes a lot of experience and a backpack of really excellent strategies to be able to help those kids move forward. So what we've got here is classroom A that has identified gifted kids, perhaps no high average because they have been placed in other classrooms to provide the academic leadership, some average, some below average, but none of the far below average kids. That's a range of abilities. Classrooms B and C don't have any gifted kids, but they have some in all the other 4 categories. Therefore, everybody has a mixed ability class. And that is magic, because we're not sacrificing the learning needs of any ability group just to provide for gifted kids what they need. Therefore, my belief is that cluster grouping provides a solution, finally, to the age-old problem of elitism. Gifted programs have forever been accused of being elitist, and one of the reasons they are accused of that is because those classes that they were in did not have a cross-section of other abilities, and they were therefore set apart from the other kids, and they became the haves, and the other kids became the have-nots. Well, put yourself in a situation where you have been a part of the have-not group, and as you look at the people who have whatever it is, there are certain resentments that form and are acted upon. So in this case, since every single classroom has a range of abilities, and since they're using my strategies, which are based on the philosophy that anything that's good for gifted kids should be offered to other kids as well. And if you watch the videos that I've made about how to teach gifted or advanced learners in your classroom, you'll see that that is a trademark of my philosophy about how to teach in a mixed ability classroom. So everybody's got access to the good stuff. And if your school is teaching through standards-based learning, whether it's Common Core or state standards, and if they're teaching STEM and even STEAM, S-T-E-M and S-T-E-A-M, with an emphasis on science and technology and mathematics, they are providing things that we used to only provide for gifted kids. They're providing choice of topics. They are providing groups that work toward a solution which was not obvious when the work started. They are engaging in hands-on learning. They are engaging in using technology. They are actually up and moving around. Those are the trademarks of what was found in gifted education groups, and there is absolutely no reason why those qualities should not be available to other kids as well. As a matter of fact, kids who are very low on the achievement spectrum perhaps need more movement and hands-on learning than kids who are highly capable. So it was just poor choices in terms of how to provide adequately for the forward learning progress of all students. DINA BRULLES and I have some data that shows how the achievement outcomes are perfectly compatible or equal for the kids at the bottom and the kids at the top. Gifted kids are no longer stuck by being relegated to having to choose only activities related to grade level content. And struggling students are no longer prevented from engaging in these really exciting learning activities that they've watched out of the corner of their eyes for many, many years, wondering, why don't I ever get to do that good stuff? If you'd like to have access to that data, please contact me on my website, and there's a link to that at the bottom of this presentation. A few other benefits that I think we need to consider about why we should use cluster grouping in our schools is that parents historically have tried to find greener pastures, other schools, either in their district or outside of their district, to take their kids to when they realize that their advanced learners have been kind of ignored by the system. When they take their kids to those schools, they also take the state allotment of funds to the other schools. So losing an advanced learner actually costs the school money. And finally, if your school is currently engaged in successful cluster grouping practices, and by the way, they can be applied at middle school and high school level, please send me an email that explains your program and who you are and what your contact information is. Because we have a section on the website that lists the successful cluster group practitioners who have agreed to take inquiries from people such as you who would like to ask the hard and fast questions. Thank you very much for tuning into this program, and I hope that you will come back sometime and look at the other videos that we have made available for you.